Hmm. Looks like I got an interesting little letter today. Rather short. Roses are red, like a sidewinder. You're formally invited to join the meat grinder. What is... How's it going, everyone? Mike the War Host here, and today we're talking about the Enlightened's newest posse box, the Meat Grinder. While at first glance this looks like a way to simply throw giant waves of constructs at your opponent in a typical horror movie style, there's actually a whole lot you can do with this list as long as you understand the concept of acceptable losses, because there'll be a lot of them. The Meat Grinder is rather special in that it can function as both a primary and a utility posse, and you'll soon see why. Kyle the Black's posse is sort of a funhouse mirror version of Custer's Forlorn Hope. Bringing the posse of any size gives the boss largesse, and filling all 6 slots gives everyone a bonus. In this case, everyone in the posse gains durable, making them just a bit harder to take down. Unlike the Forlorn Hope posse, the construct keyword allows for a lot more variety in list composition if you want to avoid having to build and paint that many hands units. Before we get much further into the video, let's go ahead and discuss the elephant in the room. This box also contains Virgil Earp, which will make this a practical auto purchase for anyone who's been dying to run a Tombstone posse list and has struck out online. This will have the added benefit of the rest of the posse box quickly being available on eBay for anyone looking for cheap construct model. Now back to the fun stuff. The posse box contents come in at a measly 465 points, leaving you with plenty of points to make your force as small or as large as you want. If you have the time, money, and patience to spare, you could easily fill the rest of the list with constructed menials and henchmen, ending up with a total of 90 models on the board. 90 models in a skirmish game. 90. 9-0. All with durable, and with 6 fortune to use for rerolls and resurrection. Honestly, I'm just getting a little bit sick trying to think about it. And that's with Virgil included. Replace him with more hands, and your 1,200 point list comes out to 103 models. Most 40k armies don't have 100 plus models on the board at any given time for a tournament. Meat Grinder can be as ridiculous as you want it to be. Fortunately, that's not the only route you can take with this list. If you take a look at the posse card, you'll see that 4 of the 6 slots give you up to 2 construct units, with the last 2 being an and/or choice between a construct and a creation. None of the slots restrict you to just construct hands units, and there are a lot of units with the construct rule available. There is something that we should address here before going much farther. In the Meat Grinder posse, Kyle the Black will be the only unit with Carpathian, so you only have one source of resurrection. And since Carpathian has a range of only 6 inches, don't expect to use this very much. You'll be relying on critical successes on tainted checks for that. Now that we have that out of the way, let's take a look at the units that come in the Meat Grinder posse box. Kyle the Black is a tanky beast that can dish out a surprising amount of damage. He comes with 3 melee weapon options to choose from depending on what's needed. His servo claws have brutal, lethal, on a crit, piercing value of -2, an ROA of 2, at a 1-inch range to keep him out of the fight a bit if needed. A combination of brutal and death dealer means Kyle can churn out up to 5 hits per strike action with the servo claws, as well as 2 chances to get a lethal hit in. They do come with special as well, so you'll only be using them once per activation. His Meat Cleaver only has brutal on a crit, but shares the same piercing and ROA. And to round things off is a Mortician's Blade, which isn't all that great, but does come with parry to provide some additional survivability in melee. Kyle's rules are where his tankiness comes into play. He comes with metal and durable, as well as hardy to shrug off a good number of blows. He also comes with meat shields to provide additional chaff for your opponent to churn through to reach him. Treasure Hunter also gives you the opportunity to either get some additional victory points or a short stat boost when needed. Keep in mind the fact that Kyle the Black does not come with Quicken the Dead. which makes sense given his low quickness of 4 and relative bulk. And as mentioned previously, Kyle comes with Carpathian to bring back some of his constructs if needed. The best way to use Kyle the Black in a game is to keep him surrounded with constructs to weather enemy fire while he slowly creeps up the board to smash face. Subtlety is not this man's forte. Virgil Earp is a tough nut to crack and hits like a freight train. He comes with durable to make punching through his hefty grid of 6 that much harder, and unlike Kyle, also has quicken the dead to avoid the more powerful hits that would ignore durable. A combination of gun down and a Hyper-V rifle means hiding in melee isn't an option for his targets, and Headhunter helps keep his fortune topped off so Kyle can keep his rotting bubble wrap in the fight longer. Dead or Alive is a good method for helping to finish off weakened opponents quicker, and while he has Tin Man, don't expect to use this in most games unless you build specifically around it. Why you would want to, I'm not sure, but it's technically possible. That'll come more into effect when you've been used in a Lawman Posse. The box comes with 2 units of constructs, henchmen and menials. These are the only hands units worse stat-wise than the Golden Army units. Don't expect them to do much aside from move forward and get shot down. The only upside to them is that they can be brought in units of 20 and are potentially resurrectable. They do come with a failsafe implant if you want to kamikaze them and drown your opponent in templates and -1 grit checks. The menials come with a basic pistol and blade, while the henchmen have a basic rifle. They also have massed fire and massed melee to help you throw a 5-gallon bucket of dice for every shoot or strike action if you want. When fielding a meat grinder posse, you need to decide just how big you want to go. As mentioned before, it's totally viable to go the full zombie horde route and bring nothing but menials and henchmen. But if you want something a bit more manageable model-wise, and to avoid burnout trying to paint over 100 constructs, there are plenty of other options available. I would recommend taking at least one big blob of construct hands, though, as an escort for Kyle the Black. However, especially if you want a full meat grinder posse for the durable bonus. I'll also be including some of the harder to find models here to show off how versatile this posse can actually be. If you strike out on eBay, be sure to check with your opponents to see if proxying is okay. Here. So in our example list, we have Virgil Earp and a maxed out unit of constructed menials taking up the first slot. The second slot will include 10 constructed henchmen for a secondary bubble for another important unit, like Virgil, as well as a pair of constructed Ulhans for some quick moving firepower. Just remember that the odds of them getting resurrected with Carpathian is very low. Slot 3 goes to a pair of flamethrower-equipped brutes for some effective templates and an easy method of clearing out buildings if needed. A combination of hammer hands and the creation strike bonus means they can also be used to weaken opponents with a well-placed stun if needed. Slot 4 would go to Mantis to provide some additional gun down access as well as some additional survivability with Favor the Bold. Her Man Reaper Carbine isn't the best, but can be used to finish off battered opponents in or out of melee. Slots 5 and 6 are where things get creative. These slots are for either an Enlightened construct unit or a unit with the creation rule, so you can bring some of the Enlightened's crazier units if desired. Here we'll be taking both Opie and Creation 5. The Railgun strapped to Creation 5's back will quickly eliminate most targets when it hits, and he's no slouch at melee either thanks to a lethal combination of Bull Rush, Mighty Hammers, Forceful Strike, Quick Strike, and Creation. A lot. And Opie because he's just a fun unit to use. A quickness of 7, Rapid, and Trailfinder turns Opie into a boss-seeking missile, and a combination of durable, hardy, and tough means he's going to easily distract your opponent while your zombie horde slowly meanders up the board. One of the nice things about the Meat Grinder Posse is that it works pretty well with other Enlightened Posses to help fill out the remaining points for a tournament list, much like the Forlorn Hope Posse does for Union. You can easily bring Kyle the Black along with a few units of constructed menials and henchmen to hold objectives for the Soul Hunters, for example. Simply park a few blobs of hands on an objective and let Kyle's 6 fortune keep them alive while the rest of the force is free to deal with your opponent's force. And there we have it, the Meat Grinder Posse in a nutshell. A slow-moving tidal wave of mechanical zombies for anyone who wants to unleash their inner mad scientist and has mastered the art of batch painting. That's going to do it for me today. Stay tuned for more painting tutorials, tactics, discussions, and showcases for current and upcoming War Cradle games in the future. Take care, everyone. Shimmy back over here. Go back to the middle for a little bit. Gotta remember to read all these in the right spot. Still gotta work out the pacing for this. Fix the hair, so I'll call Purdy. I definitely could have wrote that better.